Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the most magical podcast in the Midwest. That's right, the Magic in the Midwest podcast, starring USA Today best-selling author J.B. Michaels and his more successful wife, Ashley Michaels. And now, your host. Wow, thanks a lot, announcer. You messed up Ashley's name, but that's okay, because she's not that important. That's not a big deal, and thank you so much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 97th Magic in the Midwest podcast. Ash, we're 3 away from 100.
Man,
it's crazy.
What are we going to do? We're going to...
I don't know. Every time this is the only time you ever...
Hotline.
This is the only time...
We haven't...
It's the only time you actually talk about it is in the first 3 seconds of the podcast.
I've been trying to plan something, and JB just keeps telling me that he doesn't want to do it.
Nothing at all has been planned or talked about.
Who do you guys trust the most?
Trust. So it's the 97th podcast. This podcast, along with all the other Magic in the Midwest podcasts, is brought to you by the many works of J.B. Michaels, meaning that there's lots of books that I write. And another big, very high-profile release is coming up for release in September to align with the 100th anniversary of The Little Traveler, which is a retail mansion and retail institution right here in the Illinois, the northern Illinois. So it's fantastic right here in the Midwest. Called Raftery's Ghost, a Mac and Millie mystery, which will be the 5th book in the Raftery's Ghost, the Mac and Millie mystery series. Ash, have you finished it?
No.
Not yet?
I haven't.
Not yet. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So Ash doesn't like it, but that's fine. That's fine.
I'm not going to engage.
Anyway, so
jeez.
So so please check out all those books. Go to mrmichaels.com, MISTER Michaels.com. For more on the works of JB. Also, we have a subscription part to the podcast, Magic in the Midwest podcast.bandcamp.com. For as little as $3 a month, you can listen to a bunch more content of us being silly and a lot of attraction smackdowns where we kind of face off against each other and say which ride is better over what the other one, whatever. So lots of fun, lots more content. They're silly, they're loose, they're fun. Go check those out. Also, through the podcast, we have met a lot of great people, and we continue to grow our listeners, and what's our audience, listening audience. We hope that we make your day, your commute a little better, a little easier. Or if you're working from home, hopefully you
bit more
grab your coffee in the morning and you listen to our sultry tones and sassy tones of Ashley, of course.
No.
Right.
I'm a gem.
Right. A diamond in the rough, more rough. But yes, please. So one of those people is. I'm struggling right now.
You are.
Because I'm too distracted. This is really messing me up.
Because there's vitamins on the table? You guys, that's why.
Yes. Okay.
Because you almost died.
So we met. I did. We'll talk about that soon.
Tried to kill him. Didn't work.
Yeah, she tried to poison me, so didn't quite work. But whatever. Okay, so we have met some great people through the podcast. One of whom is
I hate
Emily. Emily from
Magical
Mouse Travel. Emily from Magical Mouse Travel. She can help you with all of your Universal and Disney trips, even beyond Universal and Disney. She is a great travel agent who can help you customize your trip with dining, reservations, park reservations, GD Plus, Universal's Express Pass, Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, and all the extras. Please reach out to Emily at magicalmousetravel.com.
That was terrible. But thanks for doing it.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
No, but like JB said, she is someone we met through the podcast, and we have become great friends. She's super lovely, super easy to work with. We've booked trips through her before. It's always a great experience. So highly, highly recommend working with Emily. Emily at magicalmousetravel.com. If you do reach out to her, just let her know that Magic in the Midwest podcast. I couldn't think of what we were called for a second.
That's good. That's good. That's good to know.
I almost said Magical Mouse Travel.
No,
we're not. We're not affiliated.
But if you do reach out to her, let her know.
Let her know
that you found out that you found out about her through the Magic in the Midwest
through
podcast.
Us,
because it would help us know if we're
actually helping
her.
I'm not sure we are.
I don't know.
We might be actually convincing people not to go.
Right.
Or not to get married.
Or definitely not to get married. D-papers.
D-papes.
You
haven't said any of that stuff in a long time. Is it because you're so smitten?
No, definitely not. So today's podcast, you guys. Today we're going to talk about a couple things, a bit of a more topical, kind of random podcast. But I kind of wanted to talk about our experience logistically, okay? Meaning that how was our experience with just the normal things like getting in and out of a park, getting to transportation, getting to a reservation, getting to our GD Plus, kind of talk about all of the logistics of our last trip. And also getting from
logistics.
Right, and getting from one resort to the other when we resort hopped. Because we did do a split stay. Remember, we stayed at Copper Creek first, and then we went over to Grand Floridian. And then we might talk about what has been announced for HHN at the end. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see where we go with this. Okay, so logistically, I would say our trip went fairly well for the most part. Like, for the vast majority of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean...
Ish. In certain areas, I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we did, most of our GD Plus reservations were smooth. Most. We had some issues with Epcot that one day, which we've talked about, where, like, the all Fast Pass thing wasn't showing up, and if it did, it took, the system wasn't updating because we couldn't use our Test Track Fast Pass, and then... the lady said that our Test Track Fast Pass was still on our account, but she lied. She just said it because she didn't want me to I think stay there and try to figure it out. She was just like, no, it's fine. You'll be able to do it. Because when we showed up to Test Track in the evening, remember, mm-hmm. the guy wasn't going to let us in.
Yes, I do remember that.
The guy would, and it was like, well, wait a minute, we had it earlier and it shut down. And luckily, the guy's supervisor, the cast member's supervisor, did allow us to go through. But that was interesting because he was not going to do it. If that other person was not around, it would have been rough.
Yeah.
Because it would have been like, wait a minute. No, we were here earlier. They told us we still had this Fast Pass active on our system, our account, our My Disney experience. So so that was a little bit of a hiccup with GD Plus. But, for the most part, everything was fine. How did we get from Copper Creek to Grand Floridian? What did we do?
We did a Lyft, I think.
Oh, yeah, we just took a Lyft. Yeah, we just did a ride share really quickly, which was super easy, was not a big deal at all. So, that's an interesting one. But the biggest, so guys, now I don't want this to become like a real negative podcast, but this did happen, and we're just relaying.
Let's get negative.
Well, let's get negative. No. I think this is actually...
Yeah, but it's okay to be negative about something if it was a bad experience.
Well, we have to talk about it, and we have to sort of give you guys, a heads up, okay? So, our well, okay, so this actually, we'll start from, like, even before this. So I stayed back because I was like, let me go see if I could find the graduation 2022 hat for a friend of ours.
Yes.
In the typical spot where you would get,
It was for tips.
Yes, it was for tips. So you see the typical spot where you do the Mickey Mouse, the Mickey ear engraving and all that stuff, embroidery. So, of course, I walked back to where it used to be, and they said to keep going. That was in the Mickey Mouse town square. So I was like, okay, so I'll keep going. And I went to the town square, and it wasn't in the town square like where you meet Mickey Mouse. So I was like, oh gosh, where is this thing?
Wait, did you say that it was the end of the night and give any context to like what time of day it was? Or
Yeah,
what
I did.
We were doing?
I did.
Oh, okay.
So this is, you guys went ahead. You guys exited
went
first.
ahead to leave.
Yeah,
Went ahead
to leave Magic.
Exit, yeah.
Yeah, to leave Magic Kingdom. So I stayed back because I was gonna get the hat. So you guys went out, and I was like trying to find the God. What is the name of the hat shop?
I don't know.
Can't remember. It's terrible. But it's basically, I kept getting 3 different cast members kept telling me to go, oh, it's back there. So I would go back there. Oh, it's back there. And then I would go back there, and it wasn't there. And then I had to keep going until finally, I found it way tucked in a corner, almost near the entrance of the park in the, Town Square Theater where you meet Mickey Mouse. But it's like way, way beyond, like as far to the front of the park as you can get, like right next to the Walt Disney World Railroad, basically.
Oh.
Or right under it or something. So it was wild.
Is that a permanent change?
I think so.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm back there, and of course they didn't have the hat, which I was a little like, gosh,
Annoyed?
I was annoying. It's like, oh, well, we don't have those. We don't have them. We ran out of those. We sold out of those. So I just picked up a few other things that I wanted, and just, decided, okay, well, I'm gonna head out now. So while I was trying to find the hat, what was happening with you guys?
So, I mean, essentially the same thing happened to us that happened to you however many minutes later. But we went to exit the park, and we were being, here my first thought was that, we normally don't leave right when the fireworks are over, which is kind of what we did. We might have done one other thing, but we were kind of leaving at the same time that I don't know what the nighttime show is called there anymore, because I've been... Enchantment. You can tell how I feel about it. Disenchantment.
Yeah. People don't like it.
So it was, there was a ton of people, and I thought, okay, maybe this is how it normally is. And I'm just not aware of it because we never leave at this time. So it was me and my parents and Harrison. And I mean, we're trying to jam under those 2 spots under the railroad where you can exit that part of the park. Those 2 archways, you know what I'm talking about?
Magic Kingdom.
So I don't even think they were letting people go out the left one.
They weren't.
Okay, so everyone's jammed over to the one on the
Towards
right.
The
if
buses.
You're facing out, it was the one on the right we had to exit through. And I mean, this group of people was like barely moving. We stood still for long periods of time, and I was like, this is odd. You would think, like, right, there's this wide group of people, we're merging into one spot, but then beyond that, once we get to that tunnel, which is where we we're like straight out of the tunnel.
Underneath the
still, like,
railroad.
Not through it yet.
Yeah.
There was just, like, no movement, and all I could see ahead of me was just a sea of people going nowhere. And I was like, what is going on? So... we were next to these really nice people that were sort of trying to, like, because Harrison was almost like getting trampled, and we were getting trampled by people, so they were sort of trying to block people off, which was really nice. But they were talking about how they had actually tried to leave the park one other time before this, and the monorail was down. And so instead of, like, waiting...
I think the monorail was down this night again.
Meaning, like, this night. They actually left the park and came back. Yeah. So they're like, oh, we don't want to take another way. Like, there's some sort of boat or whatever. So they're like, we'll just come back in and eat, and then we'll try and leave again. And they're like, that was a mistake because this is worse than when we were leaving last time. So once we get through the tunnel, which I swear it took, like, 20 minutes to move, 20 feet. It was crazy. We realized that they're making everyone
the entire park.
The entire park.
Which is 40,000 people.
Exit.
At a clip.
At
sometimes.
literally a single lane once we were outside, down to a single lane. They had all of the turnstiles closed. You know how they normally have like areas, bigger areas where you can walk through because there's lots of people.
Yes.
It was all roped off. Everything had to come to this one point where, and if this line would stop if anyone had a question. So not only was that happening, but then because of this, they anticipated the line for the monorail to be really long.
Because the monorail, I think, was down due to lightning.
Because it was down due to lightning at some point. So there were all these extra turnstiles up for the monorail.
Yeah.
So that was off to the side, and they were sort of using that. Because they were using that, that was even blocking even more. And then people were getting so irritated in this crowd that, like, people on those EVs were, like, running over people. My dad almost got run over by someone. I'll let you, take it from there. But eventually when we got up to this guy, one of the cast members or whatever directing, I was like, I looked around and I was like, the line for the boat was insane. The line for the monorail, even the resort monorail, was insane. And I was like, this is odd. Like, even
something
the resort
was wrong.
Monorail, I'm like, this
something
isn't normal.
Wrong. Yeah.
So I go, we're just going to walk. Thank goodness we had that option. Most people had a horrific
Well, where did you walk?
We walked to, so I went up to the guy and I said, we're just trying to walk back to the Grand Floridian. So he pointed where we had to go.
Yeah.
So once we got through that point, then, and then we had to like go down and ask another guy, and he was sort of like questioning it. And I was like, well, we're staying there. Isn't there a walkway? And he was like, yes, keep going this way. And he led us through. And it took us, it took us 11 minutes to get from that point
to Grand Floridian
property.
Yeah.
And then I think another 6 minutes to get to our room. But during that point, and now I don't remember anymore, we saw one regular monorail, the one that just, the express, like the one that goes to the Ticket Transportation Center, and maybe two resort monorails. Total.
Yeah, something. So I think this could have been a situation where there was a perfect storm of stuff happening, because I think there was lightning in the area, like heat lightning. I don't know if they shut down the monorails. They must, like, at that time. Or
it was just shut down.
Or there's some other things going on. Like they just didn't have enough people to get people out. So anyway, I'm at the Chapeau. That's it. The Chapeau, the name of the hat place. So I was like finally done with the Chapeau. Ash and, the family are now well on their way on the walkway.
I want to be clear though. Walkway. I think it probably took from the time we decided to leave to the point where we got
to the walkway.
To the walkway was maybe
25 minutes.
25 minutes. And when I say we decided to leave, we were not in the back of the park. We were right in front of that tunnel where you exit.
Yeah.
25 minutes to literally walk a very, very, very short distance. And people, it was like an angry mob of people. It was crazy.
It was absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, the worst logistical situation I've ever experienced. If you look to the left,
where they normally sort of let you out, like over there, you walk this way, you walk through these turnstiles or in this big area, it was they wouldn't let anyone go there. And there seemed to be no reason why. It was like, why are you pushing everyone to this very tiny little spot?
Well, we would find out later. Yeah. Okay, and this is what this. So I wrote a very lengthy, like they give you the survey, right? And then they want you to write to them if you have any other additional things. So I wrote a very lengthy email explaining everything that we're telling you guys right now. Because I was like, this was a threat. This was a legit public safety issue.
Yes.
Like absolute safety problems, like legit. So you are literally taking an entire park full of people, especially Magic Kingdom, with strollers and little kids, and people that, yes, they chose to be there, they paid to be there, Okay? But everyone is exhausted at the end of the day. Everyone is tired, probably mostly dehydrated in some way, shape, or form. And you are making people wait to leave your park and wait in huge lines where it's chaos. So that area, this was my experience. When you go underneath you're underneath the train station, the tunnel that Ashley was talking about. I walked out. It was, again, a huge throng of people. Mm-hmm. And everyone there were so many people that were just upset. Like, people were just, because...
Well, I mean, yeah, you knew something was wrong.
Something was off. So, okay, those of us who've been to Disney a lot, like you and I, when you leave Magic Kingdom, your natural inclination is like, it's usually pretty easy to leave. Like, it's not there's never any issue.
And I should also correct real quick that we actually didn't leave right after the fireworks show
No, it wasn't
over.
Right after.
There was maybe a half hour between when it was over and when we decided to leave. But I think the park closed at 10 that night.
Yeah, right.
And that was part of it. But, I mean, normally at this point, it would not be like this.
Well, they would have... The other thing is they would have more lanes open.
That's
like
usually what they
Ash
do.
Called them turnstiles. But, yeah.
Lanes.
Yeah, the turnstile lanes where you would walk in. They usually have the exits. More of them open.
Right.
So when I walked out, my natural inclination was, well, I'm right here. The monorail's right there, and I'm staying at the Floridian. I was like, I'm just going to walk straight there. Okay? Mm-hmm. That did not happen. And they were basically forcing all of us to go left towards the bus station.
Into this tiny little one lane, literally one person at a time could go through.
Right.
It was crazy.
And then I realized what was happening, and I didn't put it together until I was out there. Because inside the chapeau, people were talking. The cast members were talking, and Oh, by the way, in the chapeau, one of the girls, like she like forgot to ring something up completely, or she charged me way more. Oh, she didn't give me my DVC discount.
Oh,
so it's like 20%, or like. Yeah, it's 20. So I was like, I'm like, did you do my DVC? And I told her, and I showed her my card, and I showed her the app thing. And she, like, before she even rang it up, and she didn't do it. So then I had to find a manager to redo it. It was just like, oh my gosh. So that's an aside. But I'm getting out there, and I realize what's happening. Disney had a cast member event,
which is great. Good to have a cast member event.
I have no problem with cast members having exclusivity to the parks on certain nights.
Should.
That's cool. Okay, should it have started
at the exact same time the park closed?
No,
because it did.
Right. So what we realized what was happening is that they had a huge part of the entrance, which would essentially become the exits. Like on a normal day,
right?
Blocked off because of the cast member entry. So they were forcing all of their paid customers, paid customers, to wait after they have been in their park all day spending money with their family in the park. Make them wait, to go out one lane. Yeah. One lane of a turnstile.
Well, here's the thing, guys, though, too, is that we were very fortunate in the way that once we made it out of there, we had the option to walk.
Yeah, we were
lucky.
Most
people do not. And I can only imagine looking at those lines for the boats and the monorails, the buses, what the rest of the night looked like for them.
Yeah.
Because it would not have gone like ours did, and ours was already very irritating.
My guess is it took most people 90 to 120 minutes to leave.
Yeah. Completely unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary.
Start that event 30 minutes later.
Right.
What is the big deal?
Or start it at 11 o'clock.
Right.
And don't allow anyone to come until 11 o'clock or even later
absolutely
than that.
The worst planning I've ever seen in my life.
So it was so bad. So I was so Ash was talking about how the EVs were hitting people. I was in a line. I was in the line heading left, still not through any turnstiles at this point. Still not to the area where you could go to the resort monorail or the boat or the express monorail. Not there yet. because I was still trying to exit that one turnstile. I almost witnessed what's been happening increasingly on social media. There's always a fight at Disney every single day now, seems like. Family, someone, stroller, hit another family with the stroller. The dads started barking at each other, and it almost went into a full-blown. Like, right, I was in the middle, and I was like, I might have to, stop these two from killing each other. Because I was like, this is
Well, I mean,
bad.
You think about it, too. I mean, right? Every time you're in situations like that, there's always people that think that they should be able to, they're trying to get in front of everyone, and they're, jamming people with their stroller or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was hot, and we were stuck in that tunnel for a long time, which was really hot.
Uncomfortable.
And, everyone's sweaty, and people were getting very upset, and you felt like if something, even though we're at Magic Kingdom, I actually started to, almost become a little bit worried. Right? I have my almost 70-year-old father, and my mother who's in her 60s, and my 7-year-old, and what happens, right? If this guy right here and this guy start getting into it, and they're big, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was definitely tension in the crowd, and people were yelling. It was intense.
And I think, here's the thing, right? And this is something that I explained in my email to them. People's natural inclination when they're exiting the park is, I'm done with the insanity, right? The lines are over. I'm just leaving now, right? Maybe I've got to wait a little bit for my bus or whatever, the monorail, but I'm done, right? It's the end of the day. We're all out of here. When you can't even exit the park because you're, again, walking into a huge mass of people who, by the way,
you're just trying to leave.
Yes, they're trying to leave, but also people are frustrated and impatient because they're like, well, wait, I don't understand. Why would I have to, we're leaving the park. Why would I have to go to one spot to leave? There's all this room. So people are literally running and scrambling, past me, going left to see if they could get...
There was no room to run when
they were trying to... Well, yes. So these people, they weren't running, but they were pushing through
forward,
people because it's not a line. You know what I mean? Right. It's not an attraction. And to their defense, they don't have to wait there. They shouldn't have to wait there. I get it. I'm not saying they should do that. Yeah. No, you can't hurt people. But they weren't hitting it. They were moving forward, and I don't. So I get why the other people were frustrated because, wait, where are you going? We're forced to be here. And if you were to say something to them, they'd probably get chippy with you back. So this entire exit problem, it was really, really, really bad.
I know there was this guy swearing, what the F is going on here? And other, and you're trying to walk out a Disney park, and no one was moving. It was just... and we've been there during very high crowds before and left at the end of the night. This was different.
Yeah.
This was something...
Magic Kingdom is a very crowded park. It's the number one park in the world always, right? And it is a different way because once you leave the park, you still have a ways to go to get to either the transportation to Ticket Center or your resort. So... But it's I do think that psychologically it impacted everyone negatively. And they just didn't understand. And that's Disney's fault. I think about people
that had never, this was their first encounter at Disney, and they probably were
never coming back.
We at least, we know that this is not how it normally goes, but it almost felt like the attitude of Disney was sort of well, you're already here, we already got your money. So if you're ticked on the way out, so be it.
It's unfortunate, but now due to social media and things like that, now there's ex-cast members who come out on social media and just bash Disney customers and Disney, the
but
Disney
stuff
fans.
like that, and look, listen, so part of what took us so long too is that when someone would stop as they were able to exit through that one lane.
And that would cause the whole thing.
Complain to the guy, which I get. And he was trying to move them forward. This one lady would not be quiet, and I got it. But it was you're holding up everyone else because you want to go on and on and on, and I get it. But we all want to get the F out of here. But you felt like if something bad happened, that you would have nowhere to go. There was not an inch between me and the people next to us. Thank goodness they were super nice.
Yes.
And they kind of stayed with us the whole time. And the guy was sort of a bigger guy, and he was sort of trying to block people for us. but it was insane and totally unnecessary and really unsafe.
Very unsafe. And if Disney Legal saw what was happening, I'm sure they would have lost their mind.
And also, a side note, I'm not trying to say everyone on an EV was being a jerk or anything like that. I think the nature of being on those in a crowd is very difficult, and people likely cut in front of you all the time. I mean, we've had really bad experiences with people just, someone ran into your dad that one time. Like, well, that was a kid
who was just riding it to ride it. Yeah.
I felt really bad for people that had to navigate that in an EV or anyone with stroller. I mean, it was just, or little ones that weren't in strollers. It was a lot.
It was
a
bad.
lot. And I can't imagine even people with kids that were exhausted or have, sensory issues. I mean, it was like a nightmare. It was like a nightmare.
And then when you did finally get through the one turnstile, I looked over to the right where the monorails were. The monorails weren't working very well. I don't know. Like I said, that might have been because of the lightning or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was literally temporary roped out turnstiles. Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking football field deep worth of people in these turnstiles. That's how long.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
That's
how long the turnstile was.
It was crazy. So we just decided to walk back,
yeah,
which was
I was just
very fortunate
to
do so.
We're super lucky, right? So we instead of it taking that long, we got
the
to
people
walk.
next to us were actually staying at the Polynesian, and they decided to walk too.
I mean, technically you can.
Wasn't actually. It was probably like a 22-minute walk, I'm thinking. Like I said, it only took us 11 minutes to get on property, which really isn't that bad at all.
But that was. But
I mean, we were kind of. It was
tired. It's the end of the day.
Yeah, and Harrison was tired, so I was carrying him on my back, and it was, I was pretty sweaty.
Yeah. So I mean, I walked after you guys, mm-hmm. and I saw this happened. Like, I saw a kid get very ill, like walking on the path. Like, he literally saw puke shoot out of this kid's mouth, and the parents were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
mm-hmm.
like it's just, it was bad.
It was really bad.
I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Super cramped, and it was like once it was happening, there was no way to get out of that crowd. It was just there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And
so it was,
and we would just stand there for really long bouts of time without moving at all.
So, needless to say, I did voice my opinion. I don't know if anything will change. And we're not, in no way, shape, or form are we, like I think it's great to have cast member events. I think that's a great idea. Sometimes things happen. But Disney, I just think what happened that night on June 7th was not good.
I'm sorry, but there's no way that they couldn't have planned it better. Like, there's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
There's no way you could look at that and be like, this is how we should do it. Like, it just was
whoever
really
was
stupid.
Heading up the park operations
just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel bad for the cast members that had to deal with it too. I mean, what a night. Meaning, like, the people working, what a nightmare to deal with.
I mean, imagine, like, they were all, like, I didn't understand it. There was literally, like, when I walked out and I wanted to go to the right to get to the monorails and just walk out, right? There was a 6 or 7 cast members with the light wands, like, telling me to go towards the huge crowd of. I was like, oh my gosh.
Why? And what's funny about it is that, like, by making everyone go into the smaller lanes, you're trying to keep. It still doesn't make any sense. You still could have had a much wider area for people to exit on the right and people enter on the other side. Like, it was not necessary to do it that way.
No.
But by doing it that way, you made the exit process super long for everyone. All while, you know what I mean? You have these people coming in. Like, don't you think you would just delay that event by like 15 or 30 minutes and just get everyone out as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
Why would you?
I don't know. Maybe they thought. Well, here's the thing. They probably thought they knew better, and they thought, well, if we do it this way, it's the safest way. It was not safe.
I wonder if anyone else has experienced that. Like, if that was like maybe the first time they tried it, or if they just don't care and they're like, whatever.
I don't know. If anybody else has had like an experience like this exiting Magic Kingdom, where it was this insane. Please let us know, because maybe this is the norm now and we don't know.
I feel like that this happening would probably be, it probably wouldn't happen like that at any other park because of the way that they're set up. It would happen only at Magic Kingdom this way.
Right, Animal Kingdom is a pretty easy
different
exit, and there's a huge walkway. Like at Animal Kingdom, there's a giant. You still have a long way to walk, like after you exit the park to get to the bus stops and everything.
Yeah.
And Epcot, the monorail ramp.
I think
is
the monorail line
packed.
issue was two
But that's
parts
normal.
of two different things. We waited in a long monorail line at Epcot at the end of the night, and it moved pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, everything was bad. The bus lines were really, and we've seen lines at the end of the day. This was beyond that. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. So weird situation on the night of June 7th. Never left Magic Kingdom that way. Never in the many times that we have been there was I forced to exit Magic Kingdom in such a strange way. And I think people were very confused, especially veterans just like us who are not used to it being like that. We
know that that's not how
we know that's not normal. So, when they try to block off exits or entrances, because of the cast member thing.
It doesn't make any sense.
It just didn't sit right. It made it just made the situation very difficult. And you have to think about the state of people at that time. It's a long day, and they're out in the Florida heat, and it's just a long day, and there's kids that are sleeping and crying and crabby, and
it was...
parents that are like, oh, I just want to get back to the resort or wherever they're going. So, anyway, if you have had situations like that, you guys, please, yes, let us know. So, luckily, the Grand Floridian Walkway was just opened not that long ago. I think it was last year, the end of last year, or maybe even earlier this year, which we were able to actually do it. So that's fantastic. But yeah, and then other logistics things. Our room was slightly late at Copper, but that was not a big deal. We did make a dining reservation for Liberty Tree Tavern. I think I made that reservation the day before, and I was able to get in. And then it was kind of cool because there is a wait list. You get on a wait list for Liberty Tree because they kind of it goes pretty quick. But when we walked in with our reservation for Liberty Tree, we just walked right in and they sat us right away. Whereas if you're on the wait list, you do wait. They make you wait inside the restaurant, but it's like you're waiting to be seated at any other place, right? But we walked right in, and it was fantastic, and it was great. So for the most part, exiting, entering, doing all that stuff was smooth.
Yes,
it really was. We just had a very odd situation happen with us at MK. So, but yeah, so and then so most part, everything was smooth. They're going to be the GD Plus thing with Test Track closing. I mean, that's going to happen. Test Track does go down, a decent amount. If there's any lightning or anything or in the area, they have to shut it down, right? Because it's outside. A lot of the ride is outside. So, but for the most part, the cast members were great. Harrison and I did and actually all of us did.
We helped later on, yeah. But
we did the scavenger hunt for the Wilderness Lodge. So for Copper Creek and just the Wilderness Lodge in general. So you can ask the cast members up at the desk, and I realize this now. It's funny, right? Unless you're someone who's really in tune with Disney and listens to a bunch of podcasts and has a podcast like us, you wouldn't really know. But there are lots of really great things to do, and at a resort, and especially Wilderness Lodge, they have a scavenger hunt, a hidden Mickey scavenger hunt. And man, oh man, it is really good. It's really fun, and it's great. So Harrison and I, because we do Disney a little differently because we get to go there a lot. We also get, and because of Genie Plus, really too. I mean, we saved a ton of time, so we had a lot of time. Especially that first day we got in, we weren't planning on going to any parks, but just hanging out at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, which of course is like the best. So we did the Mickey scavenger hunt, walked up to the cast members, and they kind of like the cast member I first walked up to didn't know what I was talking about. Like,
yeah,
legit.
And I think that's a sign not only of how many like new cast members they are hiring, but just how many people don't know about it and probably never asked.
So they asked their supervisor. The supervisor gave us the sheets. Okay, so we had to complete all of them, and there was a couple sheets of hidden Mickeys that were inside the lobby of the Wilderness Lodge, inside the lounge, the Timber Lounge. Or Territory Lounge, it's called, which is territory. Terror. The Territory.
Man, we gotta start doing video.
Right. We do. It's ridiculous.
What is that called? A video podcast?
A vlog?
A vlog.
A video
Is it a vlog?
No.
No, I don't think so.
It's just a video podcast. It's just a podcast that's on video. That's all. There's no real... I don't think there's a name for it.
I just want everyone to be able to see your big giant head.
Right. So there's some cool spots in the Territory Lounge up top, like on the ceiling, and then there's Boulder Ridge. You have to walk over to Boulder Ridge, and in the main room of Boulder Ridge, both not only in the train room, but also in the main lobby area of Boulder Ridge. So it's really a great scavenger hunt. It's really well done, really well worth it. That was really fun to do. And when we did, but it was kind of funny. Ash and her mother both said that Boulder Ridge depressed them. You guys both didn't like Boulder Ridge. What was it about Boulder Ridge?
I mean, Boulder Ridge is really beautiful, and it's just because
something's weird about the vibe.
It is.
You got.
But I think it's because we were staying at Copper Creek, which is essentially in the lodge, and it's like the bustling of the lobby of the lodge is like this intoxicating thing that's so great. And then when you walk over to Boulder Ridge, it feels like a ghost town. Like no one's there.
It's very quiet.
It's not like the decor or anything. I mean, it is a little bit darker over there, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like no one is there.
Yeah.
It's just empty. And it's not, but it's not the same as being in the lodge. So I think that you just go from this really, it's two opposites almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that area is super great. The new pool over there is really awesome. I'm not opposed to staying there, but if I had to choose, I would definitely pick Copper Creek. So it was you just walk over there, and the stuff in there is really neat. But if we were just hanging out in there, I'd be it just felt
Okay. Gosh. I know.
And I mean, some people like the quiet, so most people would think that I would like it, but I actually prefer not to have something like that. I prefer to have the people around me. I just don't want to have to interact with them.
Right. Okay. So
I mean, it's not that much to ask for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So anyway. There were some really cool hidden Mickey scavenger hunts, to do in Boulder Ridge as well. So we finally were able to do all of them, and we wrote it out, and we wrote out each location on the sheets, and we gave them back to the cast members in the lobby of the Wilderness Lodge. And they were super great. The guy was really excited. He's like, "Really, you did it?" And he's looking at Harrison because Harrison, he's 7, and he's Harrison's just super cute, and you're welcome, world. He's the best.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, world.
I grew him.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but he's awesome. So the cast member was great, and he was really excited, and he was like, "This is awesome," and he gave him a special pin that no one gets unless you do the scavenger
You
hunt.
guys, and he like came out from behind the desk and made like a big deal out of this.
Yeah.
And he, you know what I mean? He like crouched down, like look at me, I'm like getting emotional about it. Like at Harrison's level,
He did like a
told him that
ceremonial thing.
A lot of people don't get this, and you know Harrison is very shy, and he was like kind of into like standing by the guy and like listening about it. So
we took a picture.
We took a bunch of pictures of it, and it was cool. And Harrison was very thrilled about the button.
It was.
The pin.
Yeah. So the cast member really kind of made the difference there. And, he has a great pin. It's on his backpack now, I believe.
Yes, we put it on the backpack.
Right. So it's just this great, like, special Wilderness Lodge pin. So that was a cool thing, that good cast member experience that we had. For the most part, it was great. And then we asked about the Magic Cookie Hour also at the Roaring Forks, which is the quick service in the near the pool of the Wilderness Lodge. And that, again, the cast member that I walked up who had no idea what I was talking about. He's like, let me go talk to my manager. And then it took... I don't think they've done this in years. Yeah. Okay, so it took the...
Well, I mean, I think a lot of things went away during COVID, and so it wasn't even really on anyone's radar, because that's usually not how those types of interactions would go, in Disney years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that, and now that things are back, it's like these people... I mean, we saw a lot of cast member training going on. I would say at the pool and other places, we saw a decent amount of them, which was good. I'm glad that they're able to hire and that they're hiring. But yeah, these, it seemed like a lot of them don't really know these little things.
Yeah, these little extra magic things.
Yeah.
So I asked Harrison asked about, when's the Magic Cookie Hour? And the guy was like, what? And he's like, hold on, let me go. And he kind of looked at me, and I was like, I listened to a podcast. I got it off Lou Mangello's podcast. He was like, because he did his whole Wilderness Lodge episode recently, like revisited it. So he's like, ask the people at Roaring Forks about that. So I did, and I don't think the manager knew either, because it took a very long time. We were there probably about 7 minutes, just waiting for them to come back and tell us about what the magic, when that was happening. The kid came back. This is great. The kid came back and he goes, you know what? We haven't done that in a long time. We had to stop doing that, whatever, probably because of COVID, but he didn't say that. He's like, but, you guys could go ahead and choose a cookie now. So we just let Harrison grab a cookie for free.
That was
nice. He did not have to pay for it.
That was nice.
It was awesome. So that was really cool as well. So it was good. It was good.
Awesome.
So, interesting podcast today. Some pluses and minuses, but that was our experience, you guys. So we're just being honest with you. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube. Like and subscribe wherever you guys listen to the podcast. Please, rate and review us. Let us know what you think. And anything else to add, Ash, real quick?
No.
Just repeat, the email.
Emily at magicalmousetravel.com. Definitely reach out to her if you're looking to book a trip.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from the Midwest. See you later.